I'd like to call the City Council meeting for March 28th to order. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Sanchez, would you lead us?
Thank you. Stand in your heart, hand of your heart. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Linda, roll call.
Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Mercado.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Here.
Vice Mayor Anisic.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you very much. Do we have any reordering of the agenda?
No, ma'am.
All righty. Moving on to public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to speak about anything they want to for 3 minutes. Pros, cons, ideas, complaints. I have one speaker slip. Puck, welcome.
Thank you for letting me comment real quickly during this period. This is a very short video that was done by Montecito Bank and Trust for us, as we were one of the recipients this year of their anniversary grant program. And out of 80 finalists, the employees get to vote on 10 recipients throughout the entire Montecito Bank and Trust system. And we were one of the 10 chosen.
Very good.
So we're just thrilled, and so I'll let the video play and then just make a few other short comments.
Terrific.
2006, a small group of community members approached City of Buellton with an idea to turn an unsightly 2-acre concrete dump site into a natural garden. Fast forward to today, 13 years later, the Santa Ynez Valley Botanic Garden is now a registered public garden operated by volunteers and open to the public from sunrise to sunset 365 days a year, and it is free to visit. The mission of the Santa Ynez Valley Botanic Garden Foundation is to provide a unique, accessible, and interactive environment, highlighting plants that are native to Santa Barbara County. The garden encourages community collaboration, fosters new approaches to environmental education, and cultivates an appreciation of the natural world. The garden is a venue for arts and crafts, and a peaceful refuge for visitors of all ages. We encourage children to explore, and adults to learn, and individuals of all ages to discover the beauty and joy of our natural environment. The nonprofit Santa Ynez Valley Botanic Garden is completely funded by memberships, grants, and donations. Your support helps fund our school and youth group education programs, adult workshops, events, horticulture programs, future installations, as well as the regular maintenance to keep our garden beautiful for all to enjoy. The success of the community garden is a true inspiration to so many, and we thank you for your support.
Beautiful. Awesome. Good job.
So I just want to go quickly over a few events that we're having. I'll pass these out. I just wanted to say, too, that I really think we could, at one of those never-ending city conferences that you guys always go to, I think that the garden in the city has been just such a wonderful experience for all of us as a public-private partnership, and we just wanted to make sure that everyone here understands how much we truly appreciate it, and that it's not, wasn't an overnight thing. We've been doing this together for over a decade now, and I think that speaks volumes about the city and about the community that is part of the garden. And one of the things that has come out of the garden is just the number of activities that go on there. And I know you've got a full agenda tonight, so I won't go down the whole list, but please take a look at the card and see how many programs and activities are being organized, funded, and carried out by volunteers. And if I'd invite you and encourage you to come to as many as you can. because they're lots of fun. Our birding program last weekend was just incredible, and it was drizzling, and we had 32 birders show up in the rain. So these are serious guys. So that is the end of my comments about the garden. I do want to just say quickly that I appreciate that the columns are on the agenda, and hopefully you'll be able to support it, as I think it's really wonderful if we could get some of Michelle Griffel's work here in the city, since her studio was here in the city of Buellton for many years. And last but not least, I'll take off that hat, and I'm just speaking as a member of the San Ynez Valley community, but somebody who's worked closely with this Buellton Senior Center for years. I do hope that they might be able to be considered to be a line item as a vital health and human services organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the Botanic Gardens is an incredible place. A lot of work, labor of love. How many years now?
Let's see. It's going on 13.
Incredible. It's just incredible.
I was like a kid when we started. Now I have 7 grandchildren.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Buck. I don't have any other speaker slips. If anybody else wants to get up during public comment, now's your chance. Otherwise, I am closing public comment and moving on to the consent calendar. We have the minutes of March 14th, 2019 regular city council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2018-19. The monthly treasurer's report, February 28th, 2019. Resolution number 19-06, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, authorizing the filing of a claim with the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments for allocation of Transportation Development Act funds for fiscal year 2019-20. Receive and file the 2018 annual report on the status of the general plan, extension of city manager contract, and approval of settlement agreement related to the California Voting Rights Act. I just had a comment on item 2, if that's okay.
But I'll still move for approval.
I'm just hoping you guys will be okay with it. On page 10, there's a little asterisk on our finance page, and it says that if you see a check item with an asterisk next to it, it means that it was something that was received within 7 days of the council meeting. And our finance department would like to pay it, but on the way we've been doing it, they've been holding it off until we get to council meeting. The other checks have all been signed, so I'd like to do away with that and just have them treated as any other check. We still have the obligation to review the checks, and if anything is incorrect or doesn't look right to us, to go to finance, but this would make life a lot easier at City Hall. Anyway, and with that, if you want to go ahead and...
That's just a procedural thing, Mark.
It is.
Yeah, okay, yeah, move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Okay. Presentations?
No, ma'am.
We had a beautiful presentation just now. Love that. Public hearings, agenda item number 8, resolution number 19-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, adopting the Measure A 5-year local program of projects for fiscal years 2019-20 through 2023-24. Ms. Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. So this is our annual program of projects for our local Measure A funds. In the attachment to the Exhibit A to attachment 1, which is the resolution, you'll see the list of the projects in which we outline the expenditure of the funds over the next 5 years. We do the next 5 years kind of a rolling estimate annually every year as the costs are updated every year through SBCAG. So the most current year, the 1920, is the one that's going to reflect the most accurate of numbers. I'm trying to get to here. And you'll see, again, we have it allocated to our road maintenance program. And then also, the rest of the funds go to support our transit programs that we are involved in, and also includes concrete repairs throughout the city for sidewalks, curb and gutter, so on. And also, we've been working on our multipurpose trail reserve fund, and you'll see 10,000 allocation every year to withdraw from the local Measure A project funds, and we put them into the San Ynez River Trail Fund. I do want to point out there is a typographical error. The numbers for the cost estimates, revenue estimates are correct in the staff report. There's a misnumbering in the exhibit. Back to the exhibit here.
Not by much.
So the total funding estimate is a little different here. So you'll see in fiscal year 23-24, the total fund that's listed in Exhibit A is $335,151. The actual estimate provided to SBCAG is $335,141. And then also in fiscal year 21-22, the total amount shown is $359,196, and the actual estimate from SBCAG is $358,196. And again, those are future years estimates, so it's going to change next year anyway. But the number that is consistent is fiscal year 19-20, and that is what we estimate to receive next year. So with that, staff recommends that council open and receive public comments, and then approve Resolution 19-05.
Certainly. First of all, any questions? Okay, I open this up for public comment. Seeing none, closing public comment, bringing it back to council.
Bueller. I move that we adopt Resolution 1905, resolution of the City Council, City of Buellton, California, accepting Measure A, 5-year local program of projects for fiscal years 2019 to 2020, 2023, and 2024 as written.
I'll second.
Question, just, if we had a major change, how difficult is it to modify this if we say we wanted to do something more?
For next fiscal year?
No, for this, during that whole period, say 3-4 years.
Well, we come in every year, so
Okay, so we can.
we can always change it the next
That's a
year.
normal-
And the estimates change every year too, so we continuously do a rolling 5 every single year.
You might find somebody that donates.
It's required for Measure A, right?
Yes.
It's part of the oversight.
Good.
Alrighty, Linda?
Okay, Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye, thank you very much. Now we have council member comments/items. Anybody have any comments? Not your committee reports, but just comments or items on things that you'd like to see come before council or things that are going on around town?
I have a. Go.
John?
I worked with Randy Endelos about some solar lighting. I saw that we were looking to rent some power stuff, and I called him up. He had 4 lights available, and 3 of them were mounted today. So theoretically, on your way home, if you go up the end of the avenue, you'll see a couple. They're just trial and just for temporary use for now. But he wanted to get them out there, one thing to show them off, and another thing to get them lit. And so if they work, you know, he's going to help us and light up those intersections until we get the electricity on.
Yeah, and I want to thank Councilmember Sanchez for spearheading that.
'cause it is quite expensive to hire a generator and a light, $500 a week for one. So if we wanted more, it would be very expensive. So Councilmember Sanchez jumped in with Randy to try to get a couple of the intersections lit, at least temporarily, until PG&E can get the main lights put up.
And how lucky we are to have Randy and Indalos Energy right on Avenue of Flags.
John, who put that round one up on the top of the pole? Is that one of his?
Yes, and that's.
That John put up.
Put that up. But he's got another one that may be going up in the morning. So if that goes up, we'll have a lit flag, and if that's approved, he'll get 7 more. If you want to do, he's just using our flagpole to try his light out for now. But
And the first one worked until 4 a.m.?
yeah, the last one worked.
Made it till 4.
And it would have, we'd have done
So-
it daylight savings time, would have still been up. We got a little early on that one.
Stick one more battery.
Yeah, we did. That he's got another one, and he beefed it up a little bit. It's all kind of a trial, so we're working on it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Madam Mayor, had the pleasure of attending the Chili Festival at Flying Flags, and I think it's probably the best gathering spot. You know, I think we were dwarfed in River Park. There were thousands of people there, but I think there was a whole lot more camaraderie and togetherness at Flying Flags. And the reports were that the hotels came and commented people booked extra days. They had average stays of 3 days versus an overnight. So it was great planning. A lot of hard work went into it. I think all of us found our way there and back, but they did the heavy lifting of organizing it. It was very well controlled. I'm believing the number. I haven't heard anything in the paper. They said hundreds, but I thought they had about 1,400 count because
Give that in my report.
all of the. Oh, I'm sorry.
But go ahead. I have the number exactly. You already know.
I'll have the. You do the correct number. But the Chili Fest was great, and I really appreciated that. Another comment that I have for council item. Recently, there's an issue with the pipeline is going to need to be redirected, rerouted, and City of Santa Maria recently had I was able to get a copy of a resolution they passed, their city, supporting the pipeline. Is a tremendous amount of expense. I think it would be. I think it's a opportunity for the city to receive some investments from the construction on that project. If we were to suggest that it be brought down, perhaps the Avenue of Flags. I've got a copy of the resolution. I would like to ask a future agenda, perhaps sooner than later, but whenever, if you would agree to have it as an agenda item. I brought the proposal for the resolution for each of you and staff to have if you didn't already get it. I thought it was, pardon me?
Did they want to run that by the 101? Is that what they want to go with it? Right.
No.
Well, what they want and what we want may not be the same thing, but we're supposed to be the ones.
They have it going right down the other side of Riverview, right 300 feet
by
from the school.
Right.
That's,
And I think those were some of the comments that
And
the
Norm
school
Williams is not
was
happy with
objecting
that.
to
Yeah.
the result.
Right, and we made our comments as well with
yeah,
our concerns.
At the
so-
last meeting.
Yes.
And did Linda- I
Is that a
think-
consensus to bring a resolution or discussion of the resolution?
Discussion.
Okay.
Because we don't have enough facts for a resolution,
Right.
but a discussion certainly.
Sure.
I would be happy to include the Santa Maria's resolution in the packet as part of the discussion item.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we can build on it or streamline it,
Yeah, this
whatever.
is a resolution for the trucking, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. That's an interim
Yeah.
resolution
Yeah,
for
okay.
transport
Yeah.
while they're constructing it, because it's
So,
going
yeah,
to be, thank you.
I would love to have a conversation about that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Mercado?
To add on to Ed's comment on the Chamber of Commerce, they had over 1,400 people And if you included staff and vendors, there was nearly 1,500. So it was well turned out. They had people who actually wanted to sign up for next year. So the question is now with the chamber, since it's a great event, is either to expand it or to keep it as the same size and raise the prices up a little bit, because this is one of their big fundraisers, and so that's going to be discussed here in the next 30 to 45 days, and to promote it in a way that people who were here this year get the first opportunity to get discounted tickets and build on that. So it was well turned out. Our joint meeting between the school district and city council was rescheduled, so hopefully we'll have that meeting next week.
Anything, comment, item?
Nope, just that I went to the Chili Fest and I thought it was great.
It was a beautiful
Yeah, I had
day
a good
for it,
time.
wasn't it?
It was a good spot, and yet they had just put that grass out there, so it was a great spot. You know, they just planted all that grass out there, or sod it, or whatever they did, and it was. I thought it was better than, you know, if they had a dirt lot or something. So it just turned out really nice.
We had
And
one year.
and I actually had people tell me that they tried to get a hotel, and they were all packed. So good for us,
I'd
good for
also
them.
like to give the chamber kudos for, it was a comfortable, it was relaxing.
Yeah, right. It was
There wasn't lines, it was nice. It was
Yeah, they did a great job. Like I said, 1,400 people plus another 100 of staff and vendors, and so everybody seemed to be happy. Like I said, their next question is, like I said, either to expand it or keep it at the same size and keep it intimate like it is, and just keep improving. So Kathy did a great job, and her staff.
And I got back in town just in time to run over for about an hour. I wanted to thank Ed, Vice Mayor Andresic, for running the meeting for me while I was up at CalCog, learning about what our state is doing transportation-wise. That was exciting. Was at Yosemite, though. That was really nice. So anyway, I wanted to thank you very much. You ran a great meeting, and I appreciate it.
You were on time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Written communications?
No, ma'am.
Committee reports? Any committee reports? Why don't you talk about the library? You were there.
I had the pleasure of going to the Library Advisory Committee. It was very interesting. I hadn't ever been to a meeting like that before. I didn't allow to talk about budgets and
Oh, he got stuck on
things.
budgets, yeah.
Yeah, no. Which was interesting, kind of. So I got to know a little more about librries. So it was thank you for taking me. Holly took me,
Appreciated your going. It's an eye opener, you know, when the state stopped funding libraries. The budget report, it was just dismal. We just went from one branch to the next branch to the next branch, and everybody's trying to figure out how to make it work with what they've got. So I feel very proud to have the library we do.
We're lucky to have
So anyway, any meetings for you?
CCWA
Okay.
met this morning, Madam Mayor. Central Coast Water Authority. The biggest news, obviously we're all happy with the water, but they getting a nice projection of probably going to have full reservoirs within the next year. It's still going to take a while, but we're over 70% at Kachuma. But the runoff, the snowpack, is going to give us lots of dividends through no matter what happens. The DWR is the controller of our allocation. We've been at 35% the first 3 months this year. They've raised it to 70%, and it's interesting to see how different communities are saying, well, we don't have a drought anymore, you can water your lawn. Now they want to beautify things, but it is nice to have the ability to, I don't think we're authorized to wash cars yet, so the car washers are still going to be very profitable, but our allocation is 70%, and that's double what we are now. So I think people should be happy to see that in time for summer.
Wonderful. John?
Is a restriction on washing cars, is that that's a city law, a state law, or is
I
that?
think it was the
is that-
drought issue, but I haven't, we haven't taken
Was it
any
an
issue. of it. Maybe-
advisory, or?
Yeah, it's advisory. We don't have any restrictions on
Oh,
that.
okay.
But I think
They used to have
some
water
cities
fountains running around.
had
Yeah.
declared a drought, and maybe we might want to consider, I probably should have asked that today. I could get back to them, find out if it would help our community to announce that the drought is lifted. They look around and see all the green, they can pretty well figure it out.
You know, I don't think we want to just promote, we want to promote still conservation,
Oh,
so.
sure.
Green
so-
team is still active, yeah.
Very green.
Green
Yes.
team is still
Let's green
active.
it up.
I was fortunate enough to go up to Sacramento last week with Santa Barbara County Association of Governments and meet with all of our elected officials and the governor, which was fun. I have been told that SB1, the gas tax that is being used for roads, will not be diverted for anything except the roads. There was some talk about housing. If you didn't meet housing needs, then they were going to withhold money. And I was promised that at least until 2023, that wasn't going to happen. So we should be seeing a lot of road improvement in Santa Barbara County, which is greatly appreciated. And at our last SBCAG meeting, I talked with Caltrans representative Eileen Lowe about 246 once again, and I actually got from her that if we had an engineer look at traffic calming ideas, that they would be willing to sit down and talk to us after 10 years. My God. So, and I think I talked to Rose, and we might even have something already on plan that we've put together years ago that they weren't interested in looking at. So, any other committee reports? Moving on to business items tonight. Agenda item number 9, discussion and direction regarding adding the Buellton Senior Center as a budget line item. Mr. Beardzinski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The Senior Center has been included with the nonprofit budget allocation process and had to compete with the other nonprofits for the $88,638 that is allocated each year. And the City Council has directed staff to bring this back as a discussion item to see if the Senior Center should be a line item similar to what we do with Paws Park and the Botanic Garden. So there are two things to give direction on. The first is, do you want to add them as a budget line item? And their request this year is actually $65,000, not $68,744. So it would be $65,000 is their request that we've received. And if you do add them as a budget line item, what does the City Council want to allocate for the remaining nonprofits? Right now, the remaining nonprofits, we've received 6 applications for a total of $63,000. So if you wanted to fund those nonprofits in the Senior Center, we'd be going up from $88,638 to $128,000 as far as the funding. Otherwise, you could drop the nonprofit funding for the 6 agencies to another number, and then they'd compete for it like we usually do each year at the City Council meeting. Allocate it based on what you think is the appropriate need. So we're looking again for direction from the City Council, whether you want the Senior Center as a line item, how much for the line item, and then how much for the remaining nonprofits that I believe is at the next
Yes, it's next meeting.
meeting in April. We'll have that discussion for the funding of the remaining nonprofits.
Okay, first of all, any questions for Mark or for I see Pam Nico in the audience? If anybody has any questions before I open it up for public? None? Mark, I did have one. It says the current budgeted amount of $88,638. Does that include the Botanic Gardens and Paws?
No, it does not.
Okay, so this is what's remaining from our battle of the nonprofits.
Well, the Battle of Nonprofits is a total of $88,638.
Right. That does
So-
not include...
No, Paws and
'cause
Botanic
those are
Garden were
light
put
up.
as line items a few years ago
Got
as
it.
separate, so they don't compete.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. So if they do the 65, if we gave the Senior Center the 65, that would leave 23,638.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And what's the other amount of money then
The- It's, for the 6 agencies, the $63,000 is
No,
the
I
request.
got that, but the ones that we funded, what is that current?
Currently, the funding is $88,638
Okay,
for
I'm trying
all
to
of them,
remember.
including the senior center.
It seemed like there are 3 or 4 entities that,
Right now, there's 6, not including the senior center, we have 6 applications.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. And they all came in on Friday, so we have those in place.
And we get more every year. I don't know, I
We
had a
got-
couple other nonprofits discuss applications. I don't know if we've got
Yeah,
any new ones.
We got one new one this year. Last year there was 6, now there's 7, including the senior center, so excluding them would be 6.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Would this be raising the budget item to 128? Would
120.
would that be what our resolution would be, to raise our budget for nonprofits to a higher number?
If
Or
you
is that-
want to, if.
You don't have to.
First thing is, do you want the senior center as a line item? And if so, is the 65 acceptable? So then we'll be done with
And
that.
then we figure the next
And then you
step.
figure out
Yeah.
where you want to go with the 63 that's requested by the others. Do you want to cap it at 50, and then they come in and you allocate like we usually do with them making their presentations? So that,
Yeah.
it's all up to how the council wants to.
So do we have any other questions? I'll open it up to the public if we're done with our questions.
I do.
Questions?
Do you have those numbers now handy?
For each one?
Yeah, for the other ones.
I do. Okay, so People Helping People requested 19,000. The Food Bank, 10,000. Veggie Rescue, 9,000. Nature Track, 2,000. Zaka Center Preschool, 8,000. And COPS, which is Citizens, I didn't write down the whole name. It's 15,000.
And that's the last one is the new one, correct?
Yes, that's the new one.
Okay, start again at Veggie Rescue.
Veggie Rescue is 9,000.
Right?
Nature Track, 2,000. Zaka Center Preschool, 8,000. And the nonprofit COPS is 15,000.
What is this COPS thing?
Let me give you the name of it.
So every year, we get asked more and more.
Yeah, but I'm just seeing why this is going up to 120K. Well, this COPS group here is asking for 15 a
It's
month.
always, the requests we get in, I believe last year was exceeding 120, and again, you capped it at 88, gave the seniors.
Gotcha, I
and
just
brought it
wanted
all
to
down.
see, I wanted
So-
a vision of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year it was
Because
capped.
this is a separate issue. This is a separate issue. We're just
Correct.
dealing with them now, but this is just, but I just wanted to see by the numbers that you gave me where this was all coming from.
And it is sort of separate, but if you take the senior center out, we want to know what number you want to give to the remaining nonprofits, and then we'll do our usual Vanna White show with the board and all of that.
Right, and I think that honestly, how we've done it in the past is you can just make this whatever they requested, that's fine. Doesn't mean that's what they're going to get. I mean, every year we've gone and pared this down most of the time.
We have to.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. In my mind, this is like a separate issue because we're going to deal with this at a different date and
Right.
time. So, Chanel, what was that? What is this COPS group again?
It's loading right now. Give me
Okay.
a second.
So the first thing we need to deal with is the
It's
senior
just,
center.
yeah, and then this can be a separate issue, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, fine by me.
Okay.
Are we,
While she's
Council
getting that up,
comment?
can I open it up for public comment?
Don't let me stop you.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody have anything they'd like to speak on this agenda item? This is your opportunity. Step on up,
Of
ma'am.
course, I'm going to do it. You have to forgive my voice. I had a little surgery yesterday and I have a hard time here. But, Madam Mayor and council members, I know that you're going to do what's right and what's fair and that you have such a big job ahead of you. But just for us to keep continuing to do the service that we're doing and serve as many people as we are and keep all of this going, we just need to be able to know like how much it is. Like we can't, it's hard to keep a
train staff and menus and the programs going when we don't know what's happening from time to time with the grants coming in or whatever. So having something substantial from the city would really make all those programs just more sustainable, and we would be able to take care of the citizens of Buellton a little easier. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I have it. It's California Organization for Public Safety, Inc.
For public
Public safety.
safety.
Okay, so let's take care of our matter at hand. Our first one is the request from the Buellton Senior Center to become a line item in the amount of $65,000 per year. Anybody have comments on it? I, of course, think that they can do no wrong.
I'm right there because they have a track record. They're not hit and miss. They have taken a dilapidated building. They've attracted donors. Thank you, Rotary, and all of the other fine people that have done it. And if ever there was a networking template, our senior center is it, because it brings individuals, satisfies their needs. We do have, many communities have needs they can't even address because there are just so many of them. We're blessed to have a lot of responsible people, but when they see a need, they're able to cover it with their own sweat and help. And I think that the $65,000 is money well spent when I look at everything else that we've done. You go over there, anytime you go over there, you're welcome, and yet it's controlled. It's not like a recreation center. It's a business.
It is a very welcoming place. How many paid employees do you have? I'm sorry.
Right now there's 6, and most of them there's only one full-time person. Everybody else is part-time.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? John?
I can.
Oh.
You looked at me for
Did I? Councilmember Mercado, please. I'm sorry.
Careful where you look.
I know. I agree with Ed. I think it's a great resource for Buellton, and I have dealt with Pam on other things, and she does a fantastic job. And I think the $65,000 is a fair number. I just hope that in being fiscally responsible along the rest of the years and stuff, is that we can kind of keep in that same area. That's a good 10% increase. In today's market, we got to look at 3 to 5. So I think that the $65,000 is fair for this year as a budget increase, and I would support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Sanchez, any comments?
I just had a question. You were talking about Paws Park and the other ones that are line items, and this would be the same kind of thing. It wouldn't be in the nonprofit.
Correct.
That's right. Yeah, that's
so every year they wouldn't have to. Yeah, we have our famous board that we.
So this $128,000 didn't.
I can come back every year just to do that.
The pairing board.
You're very good at it.
The pairing board.
Yeah. This is, never mind, I'm not going there. So this would be a line item.
You haven't got to me yet. You haven't got to me yet.
I know. I'm ignoring you now.
Yeah, now you're looking at me.
Please.
No, wasn't it last year? Was it 68? It was 68K last year, right? Wasn't it?
60,000. Oh, 60,874.
Okay, all right, I misheard that. Yeah, and I think Pam has done an outstanding job. I mean, as long as I've known Pam, she's worked tirelessly for the seniors. I mean, almost any time, day or night, you go over there, she's there. So, I think this is well deserved, and I can understand that their point about not having to think, oh my God, are we going to get that money this year? And I think we owe it to them. I mean, these are people that have worked their whole life, and this community needs to support that. And I think that this is money well spent on our part to parrot what Ed said.
Good job. All righty. And you know, it's not just seniors. They've, do you still do the breakfast bags? The children living on Avenue of Flags in the hotels, they meet them in the morning with bags for breakfast so that they've got something to eat. They take care of the food out for any seniors or anybody who really needs to eat is always welcomed at the Senior Center. And, you know, Paz Park and our Botanic Gardens, they are part of Buellton, and that's why they're a line item, and that's why our Senior Center should be too. So would anybody like to make a motion on this one?
Add to that, Madam Mayor, that they, you know, when people go to surgery and need implements, crutches, wheelchairs, walkers, they have an inventory of it just by, it's a community effort.
In the back, yeah.
They're the
And now they'll even drive you to the surgery.
They drove me yesterday.
Did they drive you?
they just took you there, or did they pick you up too?
I would like to make a recommendation.
Would you like to make a motion on that
I'd
one?
like to make a motion to make this a line item, please.
For $65,000?
Yes, please.
I'll second.
All righty. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you, Tammy.
A lot of work.
Company.
Can I have one more? Can I do one more?
If you could talk.
I can just do
Sure,
one more.
just
I just
one
have
more.
to tell you something. Like, so I just so appreciate. I can't even tell you how much it means to us. Not only for the money, but also to have all of your support for what we do. Like, that's amazing to come in here and have a city who supports what you do and your programs and be able to call and, you know, and talk and get things done. And it's just amazing community that we're here. But I do have to tell you one more little program because you didn't mention it, and it's become one of the biggest programs
Meals on Wheels golf tournament?
Saturday. On Saturday mornings, we take our cargo van down to Santa Barbara at 6:30, go to all the Trader Joe's and pick up all their food that's going to expire this week, and we bring it down. And if you haven't been here on Saturdays, there's 120 people. We have numbers now that they were coming like 2 hours early to get the numbers so they can come in first. But it's like crazy out here. There are so many people coming in here and getting the bags and Trader Joe's has been wonderful. We just go around to every single one in Santa Barbara and just load up that cargo van, and it's kind of drive by and see on Saturdays. It's kind of amazing. But anyway, I'll tell you about that.
Plus your Starbucks every morning
Is it?
with
Yeah.
coffee and sweet
That's a really big
rolls
pro.
and-
So thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your help
job.
and your love.
Good job.
And I'll still bring cookies on April 11th.
Okay.
Okay, the second part of this agenda item, we have a remaining, it looks, what was it, 23,000?
23,638.
Okay. Do we want to leave it at that? Do we want to bring it up to 25 or 30,000?
I think
What
we've
is-
done enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I would cap it at no more than 25.
25 is an easier number to work with.
So it's 24.
Yeah. Well,
I can go with
What is this?
24. I just wanted to round it up,
That's
but
two per
I,
month.
38.
I would consent to 24.
Yeah, because this is 62, 63 is what all these people, all these people are asking for. It's like 63K, wasn't it? 63K?
Yeah, it was 63,000.
Yeah. I think.
And really, this is just going to help you guys as they make their pitches to you in 2 weeks. It just helps you divide things up a little bit better. So really, this is for you
Right.
and for Mark to the extent he's going to talk to them beforehand and let them know what the pool is.
Right.
So whatever you decide is what you decide.
And they'll give you, again, you know how much they're asking, you know what you capped it at, so you can do the calculations before the meeting and be ready to
Yeah.
put it up on the board.
well, then I'd make a motion
You
to.
haven't done the board yet.
I haven't either.
Oh,
We-
gosh.
We don't even need a motion, just direction is
Because it's
fine.
not an agenda item, no.
Okay, then
Direction is
Just
at
direct-
20,
25K.
25?
25K.
Yeah.
25 works?
Yeah.
Instead of the 23,
Cost of
874,
living.
it's 25, and that way, when we have our meeting in 2 weeks, you've got 25,000, you can divvy up between the remaining people. Mark has this wonderful board up there, and he goes through each one of you, and you write down your numbers, and that's that.
Can we put Mark on a retainer for that?
I was going to say, I can come back and do it, even though Rose wants to change it to digital, so I do it on the computer, but it's not fun.
Not nearly the
It would be kind
entertainment.
of like getting
Oh.
rid of Vanna White. I mean, come on, really? You can't do that.
Okay, so 25 is the direction for our nonprofits, and I'm so glad that we no longer have to put the senior center through this. Agenda item number 10, determination of employee cost of living adjustment, the COLA for fiscal year 2019-20. Ms. Zamora.
Madam Mayor and City Council members, every year staff presents to City Council a proposed cost of living adjustment, COLA, for full-time employees. Tonight, staff is presenting for City Council approval a 4% COLA effective July 1st, 2019 for full-time employees. The requested COLA is based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, and external market data. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the annual average CPI for the Los Angeles area, which includes Santa Barbara County, is 3.9%. Historically, City Council has granted CPI as the COLA. The proposed COLA is only 0.1% higher than the 2018 annual CPI. During the February 15th council meeting, a salary survey was presented to City Council, and it was determined that the base salary for all full-time employees was under the market value for similar positions in Santa Barbara County. At that meeting, City Council agreed to increase only the salary of the 3 field worker classifications so they can recruit those open positions. The proposed 4.0% COLA is requested to allow the base salary for all positions to be closer to the competitive rate for Santa Barbara County. This will allow the city's ability to attract, retain, and motivate high-skilled workers. In addition, an external survey was taken of local cities in the Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo County to ask what their proposed COLA was going to be for the 2019-20 fiscal year. Some cities were under negotiation and they weren't able to provide a COLA. So of the 8 cities that responded, the average COLA increase was 1.86, again lower than the proposed 4.0%, which is 2.14% higher. And the proposed COLA, again, is to bring salaries closer to the market value. On the staff report, I provided a table that illustrates the current employees at each of the 5 step salary levels. 12 or 71% of the current employees are at their highest salary level, meaning there's really no more room for them to go up. Approving the 4% COLA will retain these employees and help recruit new employees to fill the vacant positions. The fiscal impact to the city will be dependent upon the action taken by council tonight. If council approves a 4.0% COLA, the overall increase to the salary and benefits is approximately $58,500. The general fund allocation would be $30,300 and enterprise fund $28,200. Staff projects there will be enough revenue for fiscal year 1920 to cover the increase. Staff recommends that the City Council approve a cost of living adjustment of 4.0% for all full-time employees for fiscal year 2019-20. If approved, staff will bring back a resolution authorizing a COLA. With that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, first of all, any questions? No questions? Alrighty, I open it up to public for any public comment questions. Seeing none, bringing it back to council. Gentlemen, ideas, comments?
Anyone? You looking at me?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm looking at you.
Well, you know, we haven't always stuck like religiously to COLA, or the CPI, I should say, sorry. Because there are some years where it has been extremely lower, and, you know, we've given in 14, we gave 2% on a 1.1 CPI, we gave a 2% on a 1.3 CPI, we gave a 2% at 16 on a 0.6 CPI. So we don't always strictly stick to the CPI. If that were the case in 2009, we would have had to give you a pay cut. So I would say personally, I think that would be fair to go with a 3% rather than the full 4%.
Okay, anybody have any John, any comments? Any?
Yeah, I think that we have to bring the salaries up a little bit in this town, or so as people are leaving and people aren't coming here to work right now. I don't know, even if we can fill the positions we have, that people aren't interested in working here for what they make, you know, what we're offering. I don't know if we have 2 positions that still, I think, aren't filled, or have we had any applications for the 2 vacancies we have?
We do. We have
okay.
some applications, nothing for the lead wastewater position to which you retired from, but we do have some applications.
However, you may recall that we did increase that salary in the first place. This will be on top of that.
Right.
Madam Mayor, I agree with Councilmember King. We, at Councilmember Sanchez's request, brought to our attention that we were out of sequence or out of step with the base pay. I think the base pay, we handled that as best we can. I don't think we are hemmed in by our ability to bring on new revenue sources. So we have to live with that. For that reason, I support the 3% to the existing folks, with understanding that when we see a need, if we have somebody that comes along that needs a bump in salary, to hire them. If they bring something to us that we've maybe have needed 1.5 employees, or that can do a job that used to take 2 people to do, we can do it with a more qualified individual. Then that would warrant that pay being modified at that time. But I'd just hate to see us take a flat salary and spread it all straight across the board. I think the 3% is an adequate growth for cost of living for the position we're in right now.
Would you gentlemen consider it 3.5? A medium in between the 2 of them. I mean, it is not inexpensive living in the Santa Ynez Valley. Solvang has not made a decision yet, neither has Santa Maria. I do realize that we've given higher than CPIs in the past. We've also done lower CPIs in the past as well. And I do see that Arroyo Grande, the cities that the survey was done with are a little bit lower. But the salary survey that Linda brought to us shows that a lot of our positions are below what the standard is. And by bringing this up to even a little bit higher level than some of the other cities, it's going to put our salaries more in line with what their employees are receiving. So 3.5 might be a good compromise.
I see both sides, and taking it from that point of view, I would see that the 3.5 would be a good compromise. We'll look back at like Dave said, we just gave them a big increase on a couple of the other positions.
Just a couple.
Right. But we will be looking at that again in the next budget, so we talked about doing that again. So I think with that coming on board, I'd go with the 3.5.
Is the ball back on my court?
If you,
Well, rarely
this is something we have to,
Right.
Yeah.
Rarely have we ever gone below CPI. I mean, a couple of times. I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, I'll split the difference with you on the 3.25.
I mean, we're talking people's salaries.
Hey, I'm a
We're
salesman.
talking about people's salaries here. I mean, we have we have some really good quality employees here. And, they're asking for a 4%. And I just think, we are very fortunate we don't have unions in the city of Buellton. And
Madam Mayor, I would move a 3.5.
And at this time, it's just consensus, because you will vote on it officially at the next meeting. So it's just a consensus of a 3.5.
Can we have a consensus on that?
I don't think we heard from John, Madam Mayor. John?
I was going with the 4, just because I think the unemployment level in this is low. The cost of living here is high, and that's what they asked. 3.5 is a good too.
3.5, and we're going to be looking at some of the other salaries as we go along too, to try to get them back in line. This is a 3.5 across the board, though.
Right.
Yeah, I'll agree to 3.5.
Okay.
Is that consensus?
5/5.
Very good. We will bring a resolution back at the next meeting. And on behalf of the employees of the city, I do want to thank the council for the 3.5% increase. I know they will be much appreciated of that. So thank you on behalf of everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All righty. Agenda item 11, review and direction to staff regarding Avenue of Flags Median 2 design plan. Ms. Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members council. So, in October 2017, council adopted the Avenue Flag specific plan. And following that, budget was appropriated to start conceptual plans and design for Median 2 as far as the first phase of implementation for this fiscal year 18-19. So with that, staff moved forward to prepare this first draft of concept plans. It's about 35%. And keep in mind that the basis of the plans was strictly taken from what was spelled out and described in the specific plan. The area is geared towards creating a parking area that can be double use as multi-use event flex space. Idea they wanted cobble parking, in-ground trees, potted trees, additional landscaping, infrastructure stub outs, of course, and multiple other features as well. The plan was presented to the Planning Commission last Thursday, and staff did receive a lot of good comments. We will be taking council's comments as well, and any additional public comments that arises from this meeting, and incorporating those. Some of the main comments, just so you're aware, from the Planning Commission, they wanted to minimize and eliminate compact parking spaces. They wanted to make sure we include motorcycle and bicycle parking features in this median as well. Wanted to increase landscaping and include addition of maybe landscape islands, larger trees, just to break up parking areas as well to create a much more greener look. And wanted also to add additional like an Art Deco design element to the site fixtures and furnishings. So those are some of the comments we've already received and will be taken into consideration. Some of the other features, key features in these draft plans include the permeable pavers. We will have subsurface drainage stormwater retention. That's not shown on here yet, but that's all below grade. We have an interior parking circulation, so you'll drive into the median, kind of somewhere along the middle of the medians, and circulate inside to find your parking space. The 4 existing PG&E Cobra heads will be removed and replaced with the matching city decorative pedestrian and street lighting that you see existing on Avenue of Flags. There is currently one 50-foot flagpole, and there's a proposed replacement with 2 30-foot flagpoles. That was one of the other points of discussion during Planning Commission as well, as far as looking at the height of those poles. Want to make sure they're maintainable, but also at a scale that matches the improvements proposed for Avenue of Flags. So with that, we have Ron Milligan here with M&S Engineers, who's a landscape architect that kind of spearheaded the concept design, and he'll be able to walk you through the concept plans that has been prepared for you tonight.
Okay.
And Madam Mayor, if I just may chip in real quick on the presentation before they present. We did put the original cost estimate of 1.7 million in. However, that was from the specific plan, and we didn't have details. It was a very, very rough estimate. So don't know if that's the value or the cost that it's going to be. But we just want to put what was in the specific plan.
That was a scary number.
Oh, yes. So that's
Thank you for that
that's why I wanted to clarify. So
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily going to be that. So
And we have not prepared a cost estimate at this point. We want to make sure we get the key design features agreed upon, so that we're all on the same page before we move forward into additional details.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. As was mentioned, I'm not sure how these slides are set up. As was mentioned, basically we were tasked with implementing the specific plan that was approved in 2017 and kind of creating the first round of concept designs, trying to meet all the requirements that were stated, using all the elements that were stated within that specific plan and saying, this is what it would look like, type of thing. Of most importance was since the specific plan really dealt heavily with the importance of parking, we tried to keep the same number of parking spaces that were originally identified in a real rough conceptual phase of the specific plan, and so we hence the use of the compact spaces. So we had a lot of discussions last week at the Planning Commission, but what we came up with on this particular design is, in fact, trying to meet the parking space count that was designated in the specific plan and really what that would look like.
And what is the count on this?
It's 58 spaces total, including 4 handicap. The reason we went to the compact sizes is obviously if we went to full size, we would have been much lower than that. It's a very constrained site in terms of getting that number of spaces, and then the turnarounds would have been non-workable had we kept spreading those spaces out. After discussion last week too, we also realized that an 8-foot compact space is pretty tough. So we know that's probably going to be an issue that's discussed further and then will be redesigned as we go on. The other option, or the other issue, was trying to incorporate as much landscape as possible in such a small amount of landscape area. Being surrounded in the periphery by the 6-foot sidewalk, there really is no planting areas. Hence our desire to create the little triangular pop-outs, which worked in conjunction with the compact spaces to at least try and get some small tree landscape along that large open area along both sides. Most of our landscape, as you can see, is congregated on the ends at the terminuses of each end of the driveway, and we're trying to get at least some large tree material and some thinking as a whole, as a part of that whole 6 median downtown vision that you have, to try and at least bring some landscape into that as much as possible. The lighting was another issue, trying to maintain with the designs that were, or the lighting elements that you have existing, we're trying to reuse those and or maintain those. Same with your seating, your benching. You have the specific plan was very specific in what elements were to be used, manufacturers, the design and everything. So that's now all open and on the table for discussion as well. The Art Deco issue, I think, is one that probably would drive the next design effort to try and incorporate, since that is becoming a major design issue or element in the architecture. We'd like to try and see if there's ways that we can incorporate that into the landscape. In a nutshell, that's kind of the way it is. I don't know if we can, Mark, if we can go to another. Again, these are just all the elements that were spelled out in the specific plan itself, and they're all your standards for the city already. The trash cans you're using, the benches is the style that you're using. We were looking at maybe some custom tree grates in those pop-out areas. Since our meeting last Thursday, I thought we could, the design that's on there is what you use now in your tree grates. I thought maybe we can come into, I was looking at New York, and they have very Art Deco designs in their tree grates. So that might be a place where we could bring in that Art Deco feel, as well as, maybe in the benching or in the receptacles, that maybe we can get into something different if the city wants to kind of move away from what their standard is. How about the next one there? That's just a close-up of the materials. There's the lighting that we wanted to propose. The small acorn type of pedestrian lights are available because you guys have been actually installing them over time for the past few years. The larger street lighting, though, is no longer available, so those 6 or 8 light poles that you have down closer to 246, we can't even match those anymore, so maybe we have an opportunity, again, with the Art Deco design element, to go to a whole new light standard design that'll be used in the whole. But here we're trying to just get as close as we can to what you have, so I mean, it's, again, just trying to work within the confines of the specific plan. And there's a small little perspective there, kind of giving you an idea of scale, and it is a parking lot, but it is a large open area for your other multi-use, coming with your farmers markets and your car shows. It's going to be it's going to provide more than enough room to do that, and even block off half of it or all of it. And I think that's pretty much it, if there's any questions or anything.
Any questions?
And where is the entrance to that parking lot? Is it just on the south side?
No, there's 2 entrances. They align with the existing driveway that's across the street that would be the west side. I guess it's the hotel or the motel that's there. So the architect who prepared the specific plan lined up your access points with that entryway. Does it have to be that? I don't think so, but it made sense with the surrounding site. That's probably open as well for questions.
And how long is that median? I know it's like 82.6 feet wide, but how long is it?
427 feet.
427? Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much.
I didn't have that. You out with your tape measure.
Nice save, Ed.
Ron Anderson held one end, and I held the other.
It is a very large median.
It is very large.
And that brings me to my question of where's the discussion on a restroom?
As I understand it, the restrooms in those facilities are
It would be median
on the
3.
adjacent medians,
Median 3.
which are,
Our visitors bureau is a 2. Seems like that would be the logical.
The residents up above didn't want to look down on a bathroom.
So this was going to be
Trail height.
this was going to be the flex space parking area. The bathrooms, the gazebo, and other things would be on median 3. So that's what we have planned at this
That's
point.
a lot better than walking to Pea Soup.
That's true.
Yes.
and it is kind of difficult just looking at this as itself without looking at the whole context of its use in the entire downtown as well.
On the curbs, are those going to be diagonal that are drivable, or is that going to be a 90-degree curve?
I know originally, some of the original design ideas were have the rolled curbs, but that was when the pedestrian use was all down the middle of it and the parking was on the outside. Mm-hmm. The curbs for this are a standard 6-inch, regular 6-inch curb, no gutter because we're having the porous, pervious pavement coming right up to the curb. So it's a 6-inch concrete curb, but it is.
I would hope we could have some discussion that, the Camino Real marketplace. I'm glad we're talking cobblestone type of thing. Events are held for community adventure and, car shows, motorhome sales. A real marketing tool for that avenue, and then yet it still is the community event where we could have events there. And I just think we're giving up a lot of community involvement by not allowing people to drive on. The hard surface is tough on trying to keep the cars in the scene. I'd like to see us allow cars to gather, or just to bring things up onto the an RV show that they're not going to want to
Go in and out the
driveway.
Oh, I see. So you're talking about maybe entering and exiting anywhere up and over the sidewalk, then, is what you're saying?
A roll curb is what it's called.
Yeah, kind of a roll curb, there you go.
You
Right.
don't tear up the car. It's an inviting feature for the...
And your parking spaces, how wide are they? What angle are they at? How deep are they?
They were 8 feet.
You stole my question.
Yeah, these are at 60, these are angled at 60 degrees.
60
They
degrees.
are both your standard per your ordinance. They're 9 foot by, the regular spaces are 9 foot by, I think it's 20 foot or something like that. But the compacts, even though your ordinance says 8 foot by 16,
Okay.
it's very small.
So these are all 9 by 20.
Well, no, all the full parking is 9 by 20. The compacts are 8 foot.
Okay,
And-
so
which
there's
is-
compacts and full in there.
Exactly, yeah.
And staff has, when we first met on the plan, indicated that compacts are probably not going to fly, so we're all aware that we're probably not going to include compact spaces. Maybe motorcycle and bicycle, but I think the compact is just not working out in other areas.
Right.
We found that out.
Yes.
Yeah.
You ever park two F-150s next to each other?
I don't drive F1.
9 feet is not
I don't
good.
drive an F1.
9 feet is not big enough.
Climb out the road.
Try a Bolt, works great.
And
Don't start.
when council's finished with questions, Irma did prepare a revised look at this, very rough, after the planning commission input, talking with Mayor Sierra and with Peggy Brierton in the audience, an alternate. So I'd like to present that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you've looked at this and you're trying to get as much parking in as you can, that you want to make this really easy for farmers markets and for everything else. My concept, my vision, or what I heard from residents was that they wanted something really walkable, something that breaks up the road, that's greener, that's something you want to walk into.
And that's
So
the reason this is a
that's-
35%, and we're here to get the input of the community and the
Right.
council to change it. So I will present what Irma has come up based on some input, and she can address it further, or Andrea, if you have any questions on it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's go, Irma.
No more questions.
Well, you're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're talking.
That looks better.
So in this particular design, the parking instead around the edges is focused in the middle with some landscaping around and getting more greenery through that particular area. So again, this is just rough. And how many spaces, Irma? Approximate? You can.
How many would there be if you made them 10 feet?
Well, this this is a very, very rough sketch based upon hand-drawn templates. I think we may be able to get in a range in the mid-50s, possibly. I think we will be losing a few parking spaces, though, in order to make this a more aesthetically pleasing median and serve the community's desires and address the comments. So.
The curb, those are all curb parking then, like in Solvang, right in front of the, like Ellen's Pancake House, they have that, is that what the above?
So this would be a very similar design to what was just presented on the periphery. It would be a sidewalk and...
This is in front of Vintage Walk, not in front of Ellen's. So those are the
No,
existing spaces.
I apologize, I
No,
was
it's okay.
talking about in Solvang, they have street parking
that's right.
that's Paula's Pancake House, diagonally you park into the curb. Is that
no-
the whole island, or is that the street where all those parking spots are pointed out?
Well, it's not working. I tried.
So the parking spots below, I see, are against the Vintage Walk.
So we listened to some of the comments.
Oh, take the microphone.
Pointer though.
Just take the microphone.
I'll figure it out. I've got it.
And don't focus on the street parking, because that's from a previous plan and what's existing there. What we're looking at is just the median portion at this point.
Okay, so this is taking the same concept, there's be a sidewalk here, a landscape strip next to the sidewalk, same entrances as was proposed in the previous concept. The only difference is we're putting the parking in the middle and circulation around, so that this would give the opportunity of putting some landscaping in the middle, and we can look at different ways of treating this. We can have the cobblestones for the drive aisles. We can have grasscrete or other permeable pavers, movable planters, trees in the middle, and it could be put at grade. It could offer a very similar experience for having a flex space available. We haven't done any technical calculations, so I can't answer how many parking spaces we would lose. But
we this is more just a concept of what a reconfiguration would look like with more landscaping and reconfigured parking. So we can debate the different plans and pick and choose from those.
By just as that drawing is, Irma, we're going to be increasing maintenance for that, aren't we? The greenscape and by 10%, 20%?
Well, not as much as grass.
Well, the grasses still have to be cut every year.
We don't know, but
we're still looking
more
at
landscaping.
Here is all has to be maintained at least twice a year. Right. So you're looking at the cost of maintaining it all, and even though we're losing, we're getting some aesthetics, but we have to look at the cost of maintaining that whole facility.
Maintenance would be higher. It just would look, if you look at the picture on page 86, it just looks really barren to me. It looks like a parking lot, and that's not what Avenue of Flags is supposed to be.
Right. No,
you're right. You're right. There would be an additional cost to maintenance because there would be more greenery, but
no.
Look at page 86.
Yeah.
And I did forget to open it up to the public, so.
Well, that's fine. We were finishing up council comments, so now we can.
Questions, yeah. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this? Peggy? Well, you want it to be a place you want to go to.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor Sierra, council members. Well, needless to say, I like the design that Irma has brought, and I do know it's preliminary. What was presented prior didn't have the quality and even the aesthetics of anything, as we're supposed to be a downtown corridor median here. And I gave you all, so I didn't have to speak about it so much, but in the design guidelines, it talks about on page 65, 67, 69, 72, 89, 98, and 99 about large parking areas should be avoided. This helps to break up a large parking lot. Parking areas should be screened from public view, so the greenery around it, the trees, with the canopies, help to do that. Parking areas should be shaded by trees to the greatest extent possible, and I think this is the beginning efforts of that. And non-deciduous trees should be located throughout the parking area, but we're getting down to some more detail that is already in the design guidelines. But trees should be used throughout the parking area. That's on page 99. So obviously, I think that this is more aesthetically pleasing. Yes, it will have some more maintenance, but I think also it's a much more pleasant place to have events. Instead of a broad, wide, open space with tents popped up here and there, just barren in the space, I think this is a better event space. And it is an opening median into our downtown. It's an extremely important parking lot. And yet it is a parking lot, and it's also going to be an event space. So I approve of what this is going towards. I still, of course,
like the trees that are going around the edges of it. Obviously, we get a bigger idea later on of what it might, if you should choose to go with this, but this has my support, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, nobody else?
Is that, so going down the center of the green dot, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 trees?
4 trees that I see.
Well,
The round ones, the penciled in.
there'll be 2 at the end, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
So
Should be
4.
6.
And then the flagpoles are at the end. And then
Okay, those are flagpoles with
At
this,
each end.
with this,
at each end.
like an hourglass.
Correct.
Hash marks on them.
Correct.
Okay. So then there are 4 good trees. Okay.
That's not written in stone.
No, nothing, none of this is written in stone. It just, it's the direction we're giving to staff. I just think this is our cities. We have developers that are coming onto the avenue, and that's great. This is the city's first project on the avenue. And I think it's really important that we do it right.
I had a set in stone comment.
Is set in stone? Okay.
Yeah. I think the 50-foot flagpole in the middle of the island is set in stone. And to me, it's a non-starter to come and start putting small flags. You have the whole town has 50-foot flagpoles with 12 by 8 flags. And there's 8 of them down in the middle. And now we want to start putting little ones. It'll not only not match, but it'll diminish our patriotism, I think.
I don't know why we would want to make it smaller. I agree with you. I think the 50-foot poles are right. The 8 islands are well spaced. I think we've got a nice design plan. I just would like everyone to think about having rolled curbs so you're not keeping all of the automobiles outside of that center place, which is where people can come and congregate. They don't have to park there.
No, what I like about this and the other drawing is that you can block off where the driveway is. You can block off each side for a smaller event or a larger event. I like that. The rolled curbs, especially if you're going to put landscaping, bushes or trees around the side, that's really not going to work, I don't think. But I think, if you had, when we get to the design with the parking on the streets, for a show, maybe we could make it so that they could park around the outside, and then all the vendors would be on the inside.
I think they would be doing that by necessity, and I guess we can close the avenue. We're not going to have being thrown off the council because people can't traverse the Avenue of Flags because we've got it closed down for an event.
But I think with the parking, with the street space available, we can figure something out where cars can get by, even if it's temporary parking, where it's parallel parking, and then I'm sure we can work something out.
Probably talking about 10 days a year that they would be offline if you were going to do something to attract.
I just think if you had, say, a farmer's market, when you compare, something with trees and the greenery, that's a lot more inviting, a lot more welcoming to go to. I just thought it was a great idea.
I think I have consensus. You want a center 50-foot flagpole instead of 2 at the ends.
That's what I would like.
I would
Okay.
appreciate
We will
and that's
design
money.
as
I
you
mean,
need.
that's got to be a very expensive implement. The 50-foot pole with the kind of infrastructure, with the kind of foundation it needs, and they're already there.
The other thing I liked here was that when you're backing up, I'm really good when I was at the post office, and I'm not a very good postal vehicle driver, but the city was kind enough to put up one sign for the handicap parking, and I managed to hit it.
And it has not been replaced, by the way.
I appreciate that. I really like the idea of being able to back out of a slot without having to worry about backing into something else. If anybody's going to do it, it would be me, and I appreciate the center parking concept a little bit better.
That's funny.
That's not funny.
I go with a 50-foot pole. I think that it's a standard and it matches the rest of. My big concern is just the maintenance of this. If really, like we talked about, this is going to be the showplace, and and I'm sure we can change some plants and stuff like
I
that.
think drought resistant, we do
Yeah,
as
it's
much
going
as
to
we
be
can.
no grass,
Yeah.
it'll be drought
Yeah.
resistant.
Figure out.
But like I said, you still have the native grasses that still need to be maintained. For them to look like in the picture, they have to be trimmed every year.
Do you see what they're maintaining right now?
Well, it should be. I mean, that's
I think we should have a nice, like a park and pretty. I mean, I know
right.
there's
And
maintenance,
so
but
I hope that we have more trees. And I'm big on green. I mean, when I'm on Plan Commission, the more trees, the better, because when you're on a farm, trees are more important than anything. So I'm big on that. It just you've got to look at the maintenance and how everybody's structured. And as those trees mature, you got people backing into them or people not paying attention. So we look at
That's something we need to figure out.
right.
too.
So we just
Yeah.
have to have a happy medium. But the concept-wise of more greenery, I'm for it. I think the 50-foot standard in the middle is a, like John says.
I have a technical question. We were putting pavers in there,
Correct.
and then how deep do we have to excavate for compaction and all that before we put pavers in?
Well,
That sounds
we're
like
going
an
to,
M&S
Well,
question.
the reason is if it's going to be a traffic, you're going to have cars on there. We're putting in brand new electrical lines right now, and they're going to be torn up as soon as you dig up. Are we going to just shave a foot of top off and throw pavers in?
no, we're going to be excavating quite a bit
Right.
on the median, because one, we need to have the entire median level, you know,
Certain kind of
for
base
the parking,
product.
but
Right.
also we're going to have stormwater features subsurface. But we don't know the exact depth at this point yet, because we still need to design that.
But the
But
storm-
yes, when PG&E does their design work, they're going to know where it is, so we're going to work around that. So we're not going to be digging up any of their facilities
That's what I
or
don't.
rerouting it.
But if we have to excavate, I know I saw the parking lots, how deep do you have to go when you put in a parking lot?
That's a
Subsurface.
math question.
Yeah, it depends.
I saw them put in parking lots and they were like 4 feet deep putting in the drainage, you said the stormwater.
Yeah, we'll have drainage
and-
facilities.
And all that, and that's a major excavation.
Right,
And
and there
it's
will
gonna
be
be
here
deep.
too.
But if we're just putting in brand new electrical lines and that's gonna be torn out to put in.
No, I just
Yes, yes.
mentioned that
We'll work around.
PG&E, they will have plans as to exactly where their lines are. So we will be aware of that and plan accordingly.
Do we have a direction?
I think you have a direction. You would like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Councilmember King.
Thank you,
Coffee
Mayor.
maker at the end of each.
I like this concept better here, for starters. I think it's more aesthetically pleasing. I don't know that you necessarily need that sidewalk that goes all the way around here. I mean, that could be your location of your shrubbery or whatever we're going to put in there, the plants that go around there. You've got a 6-foot sidewalk that goes all the way around this. And you're going to have a sidewalk just adjacent to that, which I have another issue with as well. John was talking about the pavers, and I saw the pavers that are on this concept. Pavers, to me, I'm telling you, everywhere I've seen pavers, they're a problem. Those bricks break, they sag, you know, whatever the case may be. I mean, I think you might want to more go into like a solid base or even a stamped, like if you were going to go with concrete, maybe a stamped concrete, rather than go with a brick length. One, the cost is going to be staggering, especially if you have to excavate all that, put the base in, put the drainage in, et cetera, et cetera. You know, that's going to be pretty expensive. So you might want to take a look at some alternative to that, to putting bricks in, because if you have seen, what off-ramp is it? Is it Milpas? Milpas off-ramp. I think they put bricks in there on the freeway off-ramp, and that has been a perpetual nightmare for the city of Santa Barbara.
That's got underground water problems.
The base,
Yeah, but
moves out
if
of
you would have put concrete there, you wouldn't have had a problem with
Thought they
it,
fixed
right?
that.
Concrete doesn't sag. So I think you might want to take a look at maybe
Can
when we go forward with this of not going with a brick.
Can we move forward with this and decide on a composition down the line?
Yes.
Yes, that's an option that's easy.
Yeah,
for
I mean, like we
machine
say, this is just a
complaints.
concept here. We're nothing set in
Exactly.
stone here.
And part of the reason for, we'll look at the sidewalk, but part of the reason the sidewalk is we want to give people a safe way to get to the crossings as opposed to just walking through the area where the cars are.
Well, but see here, you're going with, we've reversed, I can understand it here when you had the parking spaces that go up to the sidewalk. I got that, but now that we have reversed this, now you have, whatever composition we're going to put in there to walk along where the shrubbery is on the outside edge. You see what I'm saying? That's you're like double dipping with the sidewalk.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that.
You see what I mean? If you would put, instead of a 6-foot sidewalk, if you put hedges there, you'd still have whatever composition in the parking lot on the opposite side to walk from where the cars are parked, because we've reversed it now.
Yeah, we will look at that as well.
The other thing I have, and I'm going to be tongue-in-cheek here, when they built the 405, there was probably 100 cars, and you could drive down the 405 at 100 miles an hour. Now there's 4 lanes and 1 million cars. So, looking at this, now can you go to page 90, Mark, that picture there, we have where it's got all the measurements and everything? You have that on an overhead?
Do not have it on an overhead.
So, on both sides of the road here, we have 12-foot wide sidewalks, which, beyond me, are we driving trucks down the sidewalk? I mean, why you would need a 12-foot wide sidewalk? And the point that I'm getting at here is, when we had this discussion about approving the plan for the Avenue of Flags, my biggest and unequivocal point was that we should be able to expand this to 2 lanes on both sides of all of these medians. Going back to the 405 point, 10 cars and 3 lanes, you don't have a problem. You have 3 lanes and 1 million cars, you have a problem. So if you start adding mixed use into here, businesses into here, what's going to happen is we're going to get an industrial way. And any of you that have driven down industrial way during the day where it's 1 lane in each direction, sometimes, especially when the trucks are going down there dumping grapes, is a nightmare. So if you want to be forward-looking with this, there should be no design that cannot expand another lane. Okay? Because you got your parking here, and I see that on the northbound lanes, if this is the way we're looking. And on the southbound lane, you have a Class 1 bicycle lane, right? Okay. So you might want to rethink when you guys are looking at this and doing your drawings and all that, and take a look at it as, do you really need 12-foot wide sidewalks?
And if you look on that also, the figure 4.4 median, if you look at the 10-foot no build on either side of the median, that's what we've put in page 90.
Where's the 4.4? Oh, same page, okay.
So that those 10-foot no builds is what we put in the specific plan based on your direction for expanding the roadway if need be.
Right, and I saw that. But see, here's my point with that. If you take that away, then what have you done to the parking lot? I mean, it's almost, you could almost make it unusable if you took 20 feet out of the middle of that median. Thereby, my thinking about this into the future is that if you do the math on that, the outside edge of that curb on that sidewalk is basically the existing median now, correct?
Correct.
So, where I think we need to focus is, and as you guys go forward with this and draw some nice pictures and do all that, is that there should always be, from where the existing median is, outward, always the ability to put in another lane. Because if you get to the point where you have a bunch of people coming out of their apartments or mixed use or whatever we're putting on the avenue, and how frustrating is it going to be is that the traffic is backed up from Vintage Village, what is it called? Vintage Walk. Vintage Walk. From the 246 all the way up to Vintage Walk, because people want to go straight and get on the freeway down near Santa Rosa Road. And now you have a line of cars waiting through 4 cycles of the light. I mean, really, how frustrating is that? Because if you had looked into the future and said, hey, if we could put 2 lanes here, all the people that want to go straight across the 246 and get on the freeway southbound and go to their jobs in Santa Barbara, right? They can use the right lane to go straight and not have to wait for all the people that are trying to make a left-hand turn on the 246.
Dave?
But if we squeeze them down to 1 lane,
They'll just cut through the parking lot that we're building.
right, see, this is what, right, and this is what I'm trying to prevent, because well, I'm telling you, from all the cities that I've lived in, Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, and watched that grow, and I'm watching this town grow, you don't want people racing through your neighborhood because the city wasn't forward-looking enough to say, okay, let's not create that situation to where now people are going to make a turn onto Central and then race down Central and then make a left turn on the 246 so they can get on to Avenue of Flags and get on the freeway going southbound. If we can prevent that by being forward-looking, I think that's what we should do.
We will consider that because we have it in the back of our minds, but based on your direction when we approve the specific plan so that it's still there, we will take that into consideration.
Right, but can you see where I'm going?
Yes.
Can you see where I'm going with this? If you take that, if you say, okay, in order for us to put another lane in, we got to demo the sidewalk out to get another traffic lane, why did we do that in the first place? You see where I'm going with that?
I do.
Because that's going to cost a lot of money to tear all the sidewalks out to put in another traffic lane. So if we can look at this, and while you guys are looking at this, is say, okay, what is the most intelligent way to go forward by saying, okay, do we really need a 12-foot sidewalk? Let's make this wide enough between the existing median to the right of each one of those to where we can just say, okay, we'll sandblast all these lines out, take out that parking, and now we have 2 lanes in each direction.
Will do.
That's just me.
Will do.
So I think.
So he's got direction.
Yes, and the flagpole in the middle, 50 feet. We'll go with this landscape concept design. We're going to go to the, what's the next percent plan that we'll bring back?
Well, we were...
Do another 35?
Yeah, we were thinking that we revise a concept plan with the parking adjustment, the parking angle and sizing adjustment, and bring something back in concept just to make sure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And go from there.
Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate the work that's gone into it already. I really do. Thank you.
And we're going to be heavy on the wording of the 2 lanes in each direction, because that has gotten shoved out of the vernacular here. And it always was intended to be that. In fact, when Mr. Reagan was here, Mike Reagan, he commented about that. That really narrowed down the traffic lanes.
Yeah,
it was always 2.
Okay, gentlemen, moving on to agenda item number 12.
Okay.
Review and approval of Botanic Gardens entry pillars at Riverview Park. Ms. Hess. You guys have beat it to death. They got it. They got it.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. So, the Botanic Garden Foundation is requesting to install entry pillars as monuments to signify the entrance of the Botanic Garden at Riverview Park. They've been thinking for years of what kind of signage, additional signage they can put out, because once people get down to Riverview Park, they're like, now what? Because they've got just a little wood sign at the bottom of the park's parking cul-de-sac. They were a family donated these ceramic pillars. You can see pictures of them in the attachments.
Page 100.
They were created by Michelle Griffol, and they would like to use those as their entry monuments. They also have proposed, to go across the entry monuments, a metallic sign. They don't have that design yet or forged, but they do have a concept that they provided in their concept plan. So, as part of your attachments, you can see.
Rose, are we talking about before you go across the bridge into the...
Right there.
So if you look at attachment 2,
Okay, that's where
that's
I
got
was
the aerial.
envisioning it.
Yeah, it's
Thank
just
you.
before the bridge. So,
Good.
there's that,
So
we've got the
Sally
main
Gardens.
sidewalk, trail path through the park, and there's that walkway that goes towards the Botanic Garden. So this would be somewhat in the middle of that path on each side of the sidewalk. So pretty much where the arrows are pointing to, and then I have a picture, I believe, in the next page that shows you visually where the posts would be in front of the
Page
where the red
99.
lines.
99.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Drawing.
And if this is approved and they're able to install those, so that wood sign that they currently have just to the left of the bridge, you see in that photo on page 99, that'll be relocated a little bit further east into the park towards the parking lot on the right-hand side, so that you can see, they're going to use it as a post board for events.
Is this, it looks like am I reading it right? It says 7-foot clearance. Shouldn't that be more for the Botanic Gardens side, across, remember it's the horizontal sign.
Yes.
If I'm reading 10 feet wide and only 7 feet tall.
Right, and that's the picture here. When I met with Eva and their contractor in the field, they were thinking of putting a 1-foot tall
Pedestal?
base to add it, like a pedestal, right, to put the pillars on.
I think you need to be at least 9 feet.
And need be, they could always,
Maybe
it looks
10.
like their sign is on a wire.
Right, and they can
going
always
in, but
go
they could
taller
raise
than
that too.
Yes,
Good.
yeah, definitely.
Well,
And it could, and
last
really,
thing you want is someone tearing it down.
well, they want it arched also, so that's why I said that the metal portion of the sign, that's not a final design at all. And we can let them know that. If they have it arched, you've got more clearance through the middle of that walkway as well.
Okay. Any other questions for Rose? I see that it's at no cost to the city. They're doing this themselves. I'm opening it up for public comment. I'm bringing it back from public comment. Seems like kind of a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, that doesn't need a motion, it's just consensus, right? All right. Yeah, I'll go for it.
She does. She had a studio on Industrial Way before she closed it up a few years ago, and her work is just amazing. So it's going to be a true asset to our park.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
Really pretty. All righty. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to reiterate to the public, we are doing our best to get the flags back up on the avenue because we still have the power issue, so there's no lighting for the flags. So we're still working on that. Councilmember Sanchez is going to work on some lights tomorrow, I hear, that might be a little better long-term solution, solar, so we can at least get a couple of the flags back up there. Sure. PG&E is working diligently to get their lighting back up, and then we can go from there. So we are trying to work on it. We apologize for the delay in getting it up, but it is what it is, and we can't have them up at night. So that's.
I know it would. Your complaints are about. I thought your complaints were about the lights, but they're about the flags because the flags aren't
flags
flying.
not being up.
You can't win.
So we're doing our best, and we will get them up there. I've been in contact. We have a draft design for some truck parking behind Motel 6, as I've mentioned to you before. I've given it to the property owner who lives in Oregon, but he's coming down on April 16th to talk about his property and discuss our concept with him to see if he's interested in the city partnering with him for truck parking so we can get those off McMurray Road. So he's very positive about it, and not sure he'll want to move forward with it on his property, but we look like we can maybe have 4 to 5 trucks parked down there, even with the slopes to get them down there. So there's different ways there. So once I meet with him, then I'll report back to council on that.
Perfect.
Madam Mayor, I forgot, I left it in my office, but I was presented with a letter from a citizen who advised me that anytime we meet, even in this room, we're supposed to have the California flag with the U.S. flag. There's some statute, and I'd like us to get that resolved because he he handed me this at my job and said, "You need to see this." And I guess the school has been contacted by him also, and it's, maybe he's a flag salesman.
I think the city attorney will take a look at that for us.
Take a look.
But it's a statute, and I'd like to, because before we get
If it is,
another,
we'll get a flag.
Thank you. And John, you had a question?
Thank you.
And I'd just like to set up for future discussion, changing the red curb across from People Helping People. The whole thing is red, and north of that, it needs to be red.
Parking, for truck parking?
Just for, and that could be truck parking, but I think you only need 15 feet for a fire hydrant, but for some reason that red just got carried too far, and I don't know what changed. And the other thing I'd like to put for future discussion is the parking in front of
On the side of CVS on McMurray.
Going toward the water.
Right.
The road's wide
Okay.
enough, they just park.
We can, we'll look at that. All righty. Anything else from the city manager's report?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes, ma'am. We have one closed session item, public employee appointment of the city manager per Government Code Section 54957B1. The city council will now adjourn into closed session, and I will report out after.